plans are there, but we need to also look at the other concept whereby other stakeholders supposed to also from the beginning. For instance, if we are talking about the town planning, all the other infrastructure must be there. If we are talking about fire outbreak in a market, there must be adequate space, like what one of the viewers has said. There must be at least 3 meters so that it can allow the fire tender to having access to the market. Not only that, we also require that in all situations, in all locations, at every infrastructure, there must be a water hydrant so that the firefighters don't have any reason to go out to go and get fire to come and extinguish it before. So, but if you assess most of our markets, they are lacking in that. And also the structure in the markets. You find out that you see there is a restaurant with cooking gas and so on and so forth, very close to textile shops and so on and so. So this is really inviting fire. There should be adequate planning in the structure before the response. The response is the last effect. But at the end of the day, when there is fire outbreak, most blames goes to the response agencies. And meanwhile, the access to that place is not adequate. And even before getting there, you find out no matter what siren you blew, nobody will give you access. You have the right of the roads, but nobody respects that in Nigeria. So we have a lot to do as Nigeria so that we can really get to the nitty-gritty of that.
Now, you mentioned what is important now, let's say access to the scene of the incident.
Yes.
Typical example, what happened in Ochanja Market last week. The firefighters said they didn't have access to the scene.
Yes.
Therefore, the response plan failed.
Failed.
Right. You also talked about a response procedure plan.
Yes.
Do you have such plan? Is it not just in FCT? I'm talking about elsewhere. Do you have response plan?
Yes. Every response agency must have a response plan. We have the national response plan, and we also have the state response plan. All the state response agencies, who are the first responders, must have adequate response plan. And such plan was not just done by the agency alone. All the other agencies that are involved in disaster management and emergencies in a state must have their own adequate portion of the response plan, and that response plan must be abided by every agency, because it is in a situation whereby you will be called to activate it when there is need for such, and nobody expects anything to happen, but when it happens, everybody has to activate his response plan. So in this situation, you find out that the water corporation or water board in a state has its own role, the state development board has their own role, the police, the civil defense, and all other security agencies. You find out that even when the response is about to carry it out, you see that the crowd will not allow you to have access. So many of them will be trying to get pictures from their cameras, and then the cordon off of that area is not the responsibility of the response agency. It's the responsibility of the security agencies. They must cordon off the place first before the emergency workers get in. So all these plans are enshrined in the response plan, and then also the management of the incident at that scene.
Now, if they're enshrined in the emergency plan, how come most times they fail? And again, you cannot have a good response procedure plan without having equipment, firefighting equipment, and other equipment required in rescue operations. Now, how equipped are so many cities? Because I'm asking this because whenever there's an incident in any state, somehow not much is actually prevented from happening or mitigated. Not much is mitigated.
Yeah,
80%, 90% of property are lost.
Yeah, most of the times you see if there is a very vibrant emergency response agency, they don't need to own the equipment themselves. The essence of having the emergency management agency in a state or at the national level is to adequately coordinate. And if you can coordinate the resources, both human and material, I think that is okay. I always say, you don't expect me to have caterpillars, excavators parked in my premises, because that can be maybe tested only once in a year as a result of building collapse, or nothing even in a year. So, but if I have adequate arrangement with those who have, like the construction companies, we can enter into MOU that at any point of need, when I'm activating my plans, they will come into and support with all the equipment. So if we have that proper coordination, we'll have all the resources at our hands. I don't have to have air ambulance before I can evacuate a patient to the hospital. But if there is an adequate arrangement, I can activate my plan and get the patient evacuated immediately. So it is the strength of the arrangement. We need to synergize and really put our synergy and collaborations with all the stakeholders together, because it is not an agency affair. It's a multi-agency affair.
Yes, multi-agency affair. And you've just said now that you don't need to have the equipment, parked somewhere, waiting for any emergency. What is obtainable elsewhere?
That is how it is. Now, in some extent, you see, there are basic equipment that you must own, but there are equipment that are not really reoccurring, that you don't use them regularly. You don't have to own them. You can enter into agreement, with very constructive MOU with such organizations, so that you don't have any lapses. And that will also save a lot of money to the government.
Now, it's also been said that improper town planning is viewed by observers, as one of the reasons why our response to emergency is not efficient in most cases. How do you react to such?
Yeah, I quite agree with that, because like I mentioned earlier, you find out that you set up a market and there is no fire defense equipment anywhere within the market. And if you don't have fire defense equipment, you expect the fire or the state government or whatever to come and put those things instantly. It's not going to be possible. You have to set up the market with a fire station in the market and well equipped with the firemen, so that, and then there could be hydrants every location, and then set up the market in such a way that you detach fire from those fire inflammables immediately, so that you don't put restaurant, like I said, and cooking equipment near the inflammable items. So if you do that, then you are now really ready for that. And if you look at the setup in most of our cities, if you go around the Abuja today, how many hydrants are you going to count? And therefore, if you call me for fire at Guzape, I have to come back to where there is hydrant to come and take water and go back. And in between, the fire will be consuming. So that is the essence, that all the planning in the cities must take cognizance of that. If you go to developed countries, within 100 meters, you see fire hydrant on this length and the other length. You will find it anywhere you want. And then there is always a law that if you park by the fire hydrants, you are going to be charged. So you don't block the fire hydrants. So, but if there is no adequate planning and really enforcing those codes, we are going to have a series of problems with the climate change.
Yes, Abuja, for instance, is one of the largest, beautiful cities in Africa. Talk to us about the plan, you have in terms of emergency equipment. You're talking about water hydrant, to have it here and there. Where do we have them? Do we really have enough firefighting equipment in Abuja as a city?
Well, I can say we don't have enough, considering the level of structures springing up in Abuja. And luckily, most of the organizations in Abuja, they own their fire fighting equipment. CBN, NNPC, and many others that have large organizations and equipment. They have their own fire equipment. Some have given it to the FCT Fire Service to manage, and that has been done very well. And so the fire hydrants are not well really enough in the FCT, and we're still working together with the FCT Water Board to see how they can rehabilitate those ones that have not been effective. Working, and then so that they can put more in the city.
Now, in few seconds, what should be the role of a market or Traders Association of Nigeria with respect to markets that are always gutted by fire, should they be part of, should they provide their own firefighting equipment in the markets?
No, they are stakeholders, and we always call them and educate them, but the Fire Market Authority, who owns the market, is supposed to provide those equipments in the market. And then they can now hand over to the FCT Fire Service for proper management and response.
All right. Thank you for honoring our invitation and also sharing your thoughts on this very important topic. Thank you indeed for coming.
Thank you for
that's the Director General of FCT Emergency Management Agency, Abbas Idris, talking to us on Weekend File. We'll take a short break now. When we come back, we'll be concluding tonight's edition of The Package.
20 years of travel and counting. 20 years of promoting tourism in Africa and diaspora. Over 3 million kilometers traveled. Over 30 African countries visited. Explored the diaspora in 4 continents. Connected over 100,000 happy tourists to Africa. Reached over 50 million homes. Igniting smiles across Africa and beyond. As Gogi Africa turns 20, we thank you and invite you to join us in the quest for 20 must-visit destinations in partnership with the largest TV network in Africa, the NTA, Ministry of Information and Culture, Ministry of Transportation, Lagos State Government, Kana, Delta Airlines, Royal Caribbean, Tour Brokers International. You too can still be a partner. Call the numbers on your screen or info@gogeafrica.tv. Goge Africa, celebrating 2 decades of heritage, travel and tourism.
Now sports. Nigeria's under-23 Eagles begin their title defense on a losing note to Cote d'Ivoire at the ongoing AFCON Under-23 Football Championship in Egypt. Let's now join Gift George to give us details of that encounter and more reports on Sports Update.
Nigeria's under-23 Eagles lost by a lone goal to Cote d'Ivoire's under-23 side on Saturday evening in the first match of the Africa Under-23 Championship, which kicked off on Friday. The competition, which will produce Africa's 3 automatic representatives for Tokyo 2020 Olympics football event, will see the Nigerian team take on Zambia on Tuesday to have a chance for a possible Olympic ticket. Some selected matches of the Africa Under-23 Championship ongoing in Egypt will be live on the network service of the NTA. The 2019 Lagos Women Run, which was the 4th edition, held on Saturday morning with about 13,000 women living in Lagos taking part. Wife of the governor of Lagos State, Ibijoke Sanwo-Olu, flagged off the race early as of Saturday at the Tafawa Balewa Square. At the end, Kenya's Chopte Karen finished in the first place in the time of 28 minutes, 55 seconds, while Nigerian's Deborah Palm ended in the second position in 30 minutes.
Where I train, there is no ladies. I used to train with the men. So every day, two times per day.
If we have the managers or people that they will sponsor us, like as they are doing it to them, we can able to beat some of them.
The Nigerian Referees Volleyball Association has held its annual general meeting at the National Stadium, Lagos. A total of 104 volleyball referees from across all the states of the Federation took part in the 3-day event. The interactive session also had theoretical and practical classes to educate the referees on modern techniques of officiating and how to use the standard equipment.
And the team for the AGM is positioning MVRA for modern day officiating techniques. We are gathered here to discuss about the uplifting of the association.
The Segun Odegbami Sports Academy has commissioned some new classrooms to enhance its objective of discovering, nurturing and developing young talent in sports as well as their academic careers. The international college, owned by former Green Eagles captain Segun Odegbami, aims to produce an all-round student.
What we are doing here is trying to create the environment where you can combine education and sports for the children, and you have an environment that would benefit from it.
The college was founded 12 years ago. With Sports Update, Gift George, NTA News.
Thank you, Gift. President Muhammadu Buhari sends condolences to the family of Dr. Orea Falamo, who served humanity for many years, working for citizens, eminent Nigerians, and the medical institutions. A statement by Presidential Advisor on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, the President commiserates with the friends and professional associates of the former Chief Medical Director of Maryland Specialist Hospital, whose dedication to duty and welfare of his patients brought him to recognition. nation, especially as personal physician to politician and business magnate, late Chief MKO Abiola. President Buhari believes the kindness and humane services of the late Chief Medical Director will be missed, praying that God will grant him eternal rest and comfort his family. Right now, we take you on a weather prospect for tomorrow. Well, that's our program for today. We thank you for watching. We'll see you again next week.